She was working on an organic livestock farm in Tuscany, and I knew I had to get there because I had to see Art and I had to see her, and there were animals everywhere, some that had just been born, and I didn't know that it's not a good idea to touch animals when you're in a foreign country, and I didn't just touch them, I scooped them up and kissed them, and some of them were still warm from being born. And the day we left, I got this very strange rash around my ankles. Not very strange, it was frightening. It was red like a ring, and it started traveling up my legs. And I got home and was very, very sick. If I stood up, the whole room would black out, and I couldn't get down steps. And finally went to the hospital, and they quarantined me, and everybody put masks on. And so the testing began, and I was at Duke and Winston-Salem, and I want to be careful not to remember the medical care workers that were very kind to me. But I also got a lot of harsh diagnoses, like buck up. You're just going to have to live on iron the rest of your life. And you know, we have people going through much worse things than you. But I was all alone. I couldn't really work. I was up on ladders doing decorative painting, and I couldn't see the floor to get down. And the whole journey, I quickly lost my house, and I lost everything to this. I really did have that feeling of this is not living, you know, and there were many, many times when I would stare at the sleeping pills that they gave me and think, I'm gonna take them and float away because that's all I can do. I can't do this anymore.
I think I was in conversation with Annie Fritchner driving at lunch one day, and I told her about Jackie's situation, and Annie, in the way that she does things, about 4 hours later, emailed me and said, call Kim.
My read of the situation was she was kind of at wit's end in terms of doors closing, bad news all around, I don't know where to go, my money's running out.
And so I called Kim, and I rambled for probably 12 minutes on the phone nonstop. And I probably didn't represent the situation really, really well because I only knew this nutshell of the problems that she was really going through. And when I finally took a deep breath and I was gonna start another conversation with Kim, she stopped me and she said, yes. And those were actually 3 tiny little letters, 1 small word, that in her entire struggle that they had told me about, that word had never come up before.
We really needed to be first responders and help her immediately get in for a second opinion, to meet one of our physicians, and to get on that track very quickly.
At that point, I still didn't know what I had done, but I knew that I had gotten her a yes, and that there was hope when she hadn't had any hope. And Kim allowed Jackie to understand that now was the time for her to focus on her health, not to worry about finances, not to worry about where the next X, Y, and Z was going to come from. That was for somebody else to worry about.
When I first met her as a patient, what I found was that she had been to multiple places, multiple examinations, universities, and she went through a battery of tests, but no one really carefully listened to her in detail.
I was sort of dreading meeting Dr. Caserio, to tell you the truth, because I just didn't want to tell my story again. And I walked in and I was sitting, and Gracie, the dog, came out. And I couldn't believe this dog was in this doctor's office, and she came right to me and rolled over, and I was like, I am in the right place.
I remember her saying, I don't know if this is going to change the outcome, but I feel like somebody finally heard me for a change, listened to what I had to say.
I mentioned Italy and this trip, and he said, well, I'm sure you've been tested for parasites and viruses. And I said, no, as a matter of fact, I just asked last week when I was getting iron, please test me. And they said no.
And then after 1 or 2 diagnostic tests, it was confirmed.
Shows me, throws the paper down and says, yeah, well, you got H. pylori, and this has been in you a long time. And if you hadn't have caught this now, there's a good chance it could have killed you.
Jackie's story is perfect because she found us because there was a network of people who knew about women helping women.
And so he explained how he would treat me, and I said, did you just cure me? But jumping forward, that was December of last year, and I normally had iron infusions to keep my heart pumping every 3 months. And I haven't had any.
We don't really rely on advertisements and flyers, and we really rely on a powerful network of voices in our community, hundreds of women.
And I just have to applaud this organization because they're not just providing health care to people, They are saving people's lives.
Women Helping Women should be about much more than just cancer, that women have all kinds of issues and health concerns. So we really broaden the scope of what Women Helping Women is all about.
I would start by saying to anybody that is sick and struggling and afraid to talk to everybody they know. I think the hardest part of this journey for me was to finally admit that I needed help.
There's this growing word of mouth that people know that there are financial resources available to women at Pardee Hospital.
There is like this amazing organization, Women Helping Women, that I was lucky enough, gifted, blessed. The angels just dropped it in my lap.
They're sending us people, patients, who are economically endangered, and they're helping them finance their medical care. But on my end, what I'm seeing is patients' lives being saved.
Going through the whole process with Callie and Jackie and just being there and seeing these days that were so devastating. The hope that has come out of this, and to see Jackie not have to go get iron and to be able to walk upstairs and to feel energy, just incredible. There's no words for what this has done.
Every dollar you give to the Women Helping Women Fund, 100% of that goes to help a woman in our community. You can trust that every penny of your gift goes to help somebody who really needs help.
What more great thing can one human being do to another than save this person's life?
And we know that in our community that there are hundreds of women in need in our town, and we really want to be the place that they think of first to go to for help.
So what I did was came up with this idea of creating a cape. And on one side of the cape is my life before I got sick, and the other side is after. And when the cape comes off is what Women Helping Women did for me, was take this heavy cape that I had been draped in, every part of me, every ounce of my life. And so that is just sort of a visual of my experience with what Women Helping Women did for me.